joining us to look at the state of the nation. So many issues that is in the minds, or that are in the minds of most Nigerians this morning, is Femi Falana. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Starting off with that particular matter, we just played the report, and it's been on for quite some time now. And even yesterday, we tried to look at it holistically, looking at the Constitution amendment and the Supreme Court coming into the fray of the National Assembly's action on that particular one. For some, they are divided. They say we have separation of powers for the three arms of government, and the act of the Supreme Court would seem as if it is trying to usurp the authority of the legislature. What's your reading in this whole scenario?
Well, by coincidence, I was in the Supreme Court last week, Thursday, when the proceedings took place. Unfortunately, the National Assembly was not represented in court. And the court did recognize the fact that the case was not properly constituted. But as is generally done, that once the case is in court, the practice is to ask parties to maintain the status quo. I do not understand the Supreme Court as saying that the National Assembly should not perform its constitutional duties. When a couple of legislators sought my views, I did advise the leadership of the National Assembly to rush back to the Supreme Court and make the point clear to the court that we are still at the stage of a bill. It has not yet become an act of the Parliament for the court to assume jurisdiction. And happily, from the resolution of the Senate yesterday, I think that approach has been adopted.
Tell us, which can the Supreme Court act on, a bill or an act?
An act. A court cannot ask a legislative house not to act on a bill. No, it's not possible. It's like somebody asking a court not to give a judgment. If a court is conducting proceedings, you can't go to the Court of Appeal and say, stop the trial court from giving judgment. It has to give the judgment first. In the same way, if the National Assembly has not concluded work on a bill in a way that it becomes an act, it's difficult for a court to say, don't do your work. In this case, the president has withheld his assent. He sent a letter to the National Assembly why he was not going to assent to the bill. It's not left for the National Assembly to move to the next stage, either to abandon the entire exercise or to veto, the president's assent. It's not the business of the court yet. And I think that is why the National Assembly has, in its wisdom, decided to go to the Supreme Court to explain, the situation. That we have not. I think there was also a confusion. If you listen to one of the.
Yes, there is a confusion. It was saying because they are also alleging that they hear that the president has signed that and did, and that if it's signed, then why is he still saying that he's not comfortable? And there is some controversy, however.
No, I think I think the controversy is unnecessary. What we are dealing with is the letter by the president, the letter forwarded to the National Assembly. Yeah, the National Assembly people are guessing. Oh, we understand the president signed the bill, he then had a second thought. That is irrelevant. What is of moment now is the fact that the president has communicated to the National Assembly that I have withheld my assent.
But can the president do that? Because
of course.
If he's signed and if he's signed and they have good reason to suspect, because recall that they also asked for the original bill.
No, that's irrelevant.
As it was sent.
No, that is irrelevant.
It is.
And anybody can always change his mind, assuming without considering that the president has signed. If he had a second thought, my attention has just been drawn to certain provisions of this bill that are not in line with the Constitution, I therefore am not going to sign what I have signed to them. That is the end of the matter.
What about the option where some people say that, you know, he could have signed, but then brought out the areas where he had reservations?
No, it's a holistic thing. I mean, you cannot do it in
piecemeal.
I also felt that this whole controversy is totally unnecessary. Majority should have prevailed. I thought the president should have drawn the attention of the leadership of the National Assembly to his observations, and then this matter will be ironed out. There's no doubt that some of the issues raised by the president are valid. And with profound respect, I think the National Assembly was misled in many areas.
For instance?
For instance, Section 18 of the Constitution on free education for primary school pupils was taken to Chapter 4. Totally unnecessary for two reasons. One, you cannot amend Chapter 4 without a resolution by 4/5 majority of the National Assembly members, because Chapter 4 is the fundamental right provision, so that nobody tinkers, you know, with it at any time, the way he or she likes. That is why the amendment procedure is very strict. Why I'm saying that it was totally unnecessary is that there are two laws: the Child's Rights Act of 2003 and the UB Act, that is Compulsory Universal Basic Education Act of 2004, that have made education compulsory and free from primary to junior secondary school for every Nigerian child. So you don't need to take it to the Constitution any longer, I mean, to remove it from Chapter 2 and take it to Chapter 4, because we have left that stage. And I think there was another one on right to maternal health or whatever. Again, this same National Assembly passed the National Health Bill last November, and that has guaranteed, you know, access to hospital for pregnant women, children under the age of 6, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but
the only area I'm quarreling with that law, which is in court now, where I've sued the National Assembly, is that Section 48 and 51 of that law have empowered doctors to remove vital organs from bodies of Nigeria without their consent. And that matter, I think, is coming up next week for hearing. But the law has already taken care of that aspect. So they don't need to go that far.
The issue of, you know, when you lawyers talk, sometimes you say the Constitution is sacrosanct, and where any law of the National Assembly with that of the Constitution, then maybe that's what the lawmakers were bothered about when they moved this.
No, they don't need to do that. The law is there; it's been passed. So you don't need to take it to the Constitution, and that's why they're in this trouble.
So
then
that's what
you want to amend Sections 8 and 9, right? It's just that it's not an ordinary amendment where you only need, you know, 2/3 majority. So these are the problems. So in those areas, the president has a point. But I think it's the manner of going about it. Because if we are not careful, the entire money, over 10 billion naira, spent on this constitutional amendment, including the National Conference last year, will be wasted.
Do you see this as judicial interference?
Judicial? No. Like I said, the court has made an order. The National Assembly has rightly decided to rush back to the court to ask for a vacation of the order. And once the facts are made clear, because they themselves appear to be confused. On the one hand, they are saying, I think Honorable Senator Etang was saying that, oh, we have information that the bill has been passed, been signed by the president, is now an act. If it's an act, then there is another problem.